Garrett Blevins here with an overview of day 2 of week 2. This was a high volume squat day, which I think in my next program I'm going to probably keep the same but make the low volume squat day a little bit easier. Last week I did this exact same workout pretty much, except on this one I'm doing one more set of 4, or rather one more set of 8 with my main work. So I'll probably drop the volume on my easier day next time I go through this. I'm feeling a little bit beat up, a little bit tight in the hips. Not too bad really though. Honestly, I feel a lot better than when I had started the volume work the first time. And I think for two reasons. One, I kind of know what to expect, and so mentally I'm not that intimidated by these workouts. But also, I just think my body is starting to acclimate to some of the volume and recover a little bit better. But this is the first working set here, and though I could have done some drop sets if I needed to, I was able to work through these 435s by 8 sets pretty well. I thought they were going to be harder when I went into the gym than they ended up being, which I'm pretty happy about. I focused a lot on not overextending at the top of the lift. One thing I've noticed is that when I lock out my squats, sometimes I will bring my hips too far forward and actually destabilize my lower spine and push it into an arched position. And if I do that, then I have a lot of, I start the squat in an overly arched position, which leads me to have some lower back rounding at the bottom of the lift, which then in turn makes my back get a lot more fatigued. In any case, these didn't feel too bad, though I was definitely tight. I think depth was not the greatest on this day. However, I don't focus on just burying my squats when I'm doing sets of 8 for the reasons that I mentioned. It just taxes the lower back a little too much, and you can just get kind of nailed to the ground if you're in the hole too long. That said, following these up with a 5x5 on high bar was definitely taxing on my legs, but this is the day after, and I don't have a lot of delayed onset muscle soreness. What I would say is it was just really fatiguing in between these sets. I was probably taking probably 6 to 8 minutes between the first 2 sets, and I think I waited maybe 10 to 12 minutes in between my last set of 3, between sets 3 and 4, that is. Once I got into the high bar work, I cut down my rest period substantially, but these sets of 8s just really take it out of me. I'm happy that this is probably the hardest squat workout I'm going to have this training cycle as far as volume goes. I believe on this day I had about 14,000 pounds of low bar and about 10,000 pounds of high bar. So 24, 25K squat volume alone, which is a lot for me. I think there are other people who do more or mass more than that. I only squat now 2 times a week, and so they may get more overall volume throughout the week. I prefer to kind of throw a lot of volume on specific exercises on a certain day. So in this program I'm doing now, I have 2 deadlifting movements on my first day in the gym, followed by 2 benching movements. This is my primary squat day where I have 2 squat movements, followed by 2 bench movements. And then it's on the third day where I do a full body workout where I'll have a squat, 2 bench movements, and a deadlift. I am trying to work a little bit more on my sumo, but also on widening my stance in low bar. However, one of the things that can come up with that is you can overtax your hips. And so one of the things that I'm trying to be really careful and aware of is my hip health as I go through these workouts, so that I don't get myself into an injury position. That said, high bar squats felt excellent today. I put the belt on this week, and it just really felt comfortable. I was able to get to a good depth and really sink in. I felt solid throughout the lifts. And, it really feels a lot more comfortable right now than low bar. That said, the weights are much lighter, and I'm doing 3 less reps. Instead of doing sets of 8, I'm doing sets of 5, and I've dropped the weight by 50 pounds. But the speed felt good on these, and this really allowed me, my back, to kind of take a break. I think my form was pretty good, my bracing was more on point, and really allowed me to focus on working my quads. And that's why I'm doing these more narrow stance high bar squats. I'm really trying to get some hypertrophy in there. Now I left in here a break. This is what my breaks look like. This was 4 minutes of break time. Usually I'm pretty gassed in my workout, so I will just go sit down, unbuckle my belt. Sometimes I'll roll my knee sleeves down if I feel like they're constricting my legs too much. But pretty much I don't do much of anything except for relax. Sometimes I'll stretch out a little bit, just massage my quads a little bit if they feel like they're getting cramped up at all. And then I'll put my belt back on. I've found that taking the belt off in between sets really helps me not get that massive lower back pump that some people get. And if anybody wonders, do not get a double prong belt. It's just a hassle and it's extremely annoying. Get a single prong belt if you're going to get a belt for powerlifting, or get something if you want to use one of those clamps or the levers. You can go ahead and do those. I'm not a big fan. Depending on how bloated I am for the day or how much salt I've had, my waist will kind of fluctuate in between some of the notches, so I like to be able to adjust on the fly. I also wear my belt higher for deadlifts than I do for squats, and so I use a different setting for all of those. And having a prong belt allows me to make those quick adjustments instead of with a lever belt where you're going to have to unscrew the whole thing. So unless you have two belts or something like that, I do think a prong belt is a really good option, though the lever belts are pretty cool and they look pretty cool. They also allow you to get a little bit tighter, easier. With this belt, sometimes I'll go up to the rack and kind of really cinch the belt on if I want it tight. I don't like to do that too much, only because it affects how much I can brace if the belt is too tight. In any case, this day, as far as hardness, I would call this day like a 7 out of 10 for the volume. Even though it was a lot of work, I don't know why, but it was just easier. Maybe my form was more on point. Maybe I was cutting depth a little bit more than normal. I don't know. But whatever it wasn't too bad. On the benching, this is the first day that my bench has felt good since I've been back working out. I brought my grip in a little bit from having my ring finger on the break in the knurl. I brought it into having my pinky finger on it and really felt a lot more comfortable. This also let me use my triceps more out of the bottom of the lift and was more comfortable overall. I think the speed was better. I adjusted my my grip a couple of times on these sets. I didn't film every set of 3. This gets really old really fast. And I'd be interested to get any of your takes out there if you would prefer for me just to have the first and last set for some of this work, or if you like the longer videos. It's kind of all the same to me, but I feel like it gets boring. So let me know in the comments below if you care about that. Bench volume on this day, this is really more of a recovery day than anything. This isn't enough to really make me sore or tax me. And after this I did just a little bit of accessory work, some rows and some hammer curls to help with elbow health. But in general, this was a pretty easy day as far as benching goes. However, I am running the benching the same that I did in the last 14-week period because I had a lot of really good improvements on my bench press. So I'm hoping to have some increases in strength there, but they're definitely not manifesting yet. This is 365 and it was still feeling pretty heavy for these sets of 6. So the strength is coming back, but it is slow and steady. And that's usually how it is after competition. That said, I was looking over what the Bible has to say about focus. And I came across this verse. It's found in Matthew 24, which is, in the context, it's an apocalyptic dialogue from Jesus where he's talking about, end of the world type things. I'm not going to get into how to interpret the apocalyptic genre or how it might be used. What I will say is it's largely misunderstood, and you get some pretty weird and very literal interpretations of things that are not always meant to be taken literally. Regardless, this verse, the one who endures to the end will be saved, made me think about volume work and about the training programs that powerlifters use, where you've got to get to the end of it. You can't be a program hopper where when it gets harder, if you don't like it, you start quitting or changing. It's people who make a plan, stick to it, run it all the way through, and get to see the results that come out of it, the actual results for them because they finished it. They can then go back and look how to make their programming more optimal. And so I advise everybody out there, if you're running a program, finish your program. And then after you've done it, you can look back over and see, well, I like this, I didn't like that, I think this could be improved. And you do another test, you do another try. But if you're making gains on your lifts, even if you didn't like it that much, maybe you should keep it pretty much the same. Because if you're making gains, you don't want to mess that up by changing things around too much. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you're all doing well wherever you're at. Blessings.